Yo, what's going on, Geek Corner? This is your boy Earth Mac, the Mad Scientist, and this is Pro Wrestling Talk live, man. Because we got a lot to talk about today on the pro wrestling spectrum. But before we get into that, before we get into what we title CM Punk shoots on AEW and Tony Khan, we got to let you know about the current standings as far as the next anime we actually going to cover after Solo Leveling ends, which is actually officially ended last week. I mean, temporarily end. Let's just say that temporarily end because it's a season finale. But the current standings as it goes is Brave Bang Bravern still sitting at 54% in first place. Sin Duality Noir at 20% in second place. Free Ren Beyond Journey's End at 12%. And The Witch and the Beast at 15%. Now, it is still not too late to go out there and vote. You can still fight for your respective anime for us to cover. So, all is not lost. So, you got until tomorrow. You got until 7 p.m. tomorrow. Okay? 7 p.m. tomorrow. And then we will cover on Monday the new anime to replace Solo Leveling. And then we're going to do another poll. Once Ninja Kamo is close to ending, we're definitely going to do another poll. So if your anime didn't win, it will still be in the running to possibly win. So it'll still be a choice of 4 anime, but there will be a new anime that takes the winner's place. And then the other 3 losers from the previous poll goes back into the next one. So that's how we're going to do that. But let's get to the subject at hand, shall we, man? Let's get down to CM Punk and his most recent interview with Ariel Helwani. I would say this has been one of the most insightful interviews for a pro wrestler, and I find it oddly convenient that this happens in the week of WrestleMania, because WrestleMania is this weekend coming. If you do not have Peacock, I strongly suggest that you go get Peacock, because I feel like it's going to be a doozy, man. I mean, it's WrestleMania. WrestleMania hardly ever really disappoint. It's the whole pageantry of WrestleMania, the whole sold out stadium aspect of it. So, you know, anything that you might critique or anything that you might want to like nitpick, it's hard for you to do that at WrestleMania because the pageantry is too big. So if you do not have Peacock, I strongly encourage you guys to get Peacock. But CM Punk recently had an interview with Ariel Helwani, and Ariel actually brought out the real in CM Punk, and I'm pretty sure he's cleared it with Triple H. I'm pretty sure CM Punk cleared it with Nick Khan. A lot of people may not know that Ariel and Nick Khan are friends, so I'm pretty sure, you know, he was given the green light to let out all of his grievances when it comes down to AEW, especially Triple H. But I'm gonna break down this interview, like certain things that he said, because whatever, you know, the stuff that he was saying in regards to AEW and Tony Khan, like that left the internet spectrum in a frenzy, man. People were like arguing back and forth, like it became really toxic on Twitter. Like the AEW elitists, I mean, man, they were saying he's overrated and everything else in between, being very, very, very defensive of what CM Punk was saying. And even that, there was some AEW talent was saying, thank you, AEW, with the hashtags and some fans or whatever. But I'm going to break all that down. And let's start with what's going on with AEW. Because one of the first questions that was asked to CM Punk is, you know, what happened in All In 2023. Now it says, on his experience last summer at All In London's Wembley Stadium, and I quote, he stated, "There's nobody there to pick me up, and it's not a big deal. I just got on the tube, and I was like a venture. That part was fun, but it's completely irresponsible as a company to leave somebody stranded at the airport." Now, when he showed up to London this past summer, no one was there to pick him up. Now, a lot of people want to point the finger at Tony Khan, but then again, you know, there's other people that are responsible for travel and picking people up. Now, it could be one of those cases where he didn't even know about this situation, but it's easy to speculate that he knew about it beforehand and just let it roll the way it rolled. But I seriously doubt that, because Tony Khan considers at that point in time CM Punk's friend. But when he was asked about Jack Perry's Cry Me a River line at the event, He stated there's all these rumors about NDAs. There's a big difference between not being allowed to talk about some shit or just not wanting to talk about some shit. I don't necessarily want to litigate this again. Tony's big idea for Collision was a separate show. We're going to separate everybody, and I said that'll never work. Just let me go. Just get me out of there. He said these guys don't want me here. This isn't a real business. This isn't a business predicated on making money, drawing money, selling tickets. You know, it's not what it was sold to me as. So let me go. Oh, I can't let you go. I'm going to do a new show, says Tony. Now, and then the second day we have this show and I'm sitting in catering, minding my own business. And Tony Schiavone comes and gets me and he's like, hey, I really like your help. I was like, what? And he's like, Jack is cussing me out. So from that standpoint, this started back in Collision. So allegedly, Jack Perry wanted to do a bit where he was going to break glass with a pipe, real glass. The doctor's telling him no, you know, Tony Schiavone telling him no, and he's disrespecting, you know, the doctors and disrespecting Tony Schiavone. And Tony Schiavone just had enough. He said, yeah, he went to Punk. And he said, Punk, can you please handle this? Because technically Punk was in charge of Collision, because if you really think about it, when Collision first aired, it was really CM Punk's show. Like that show was actually different than Dynamite, and it still is different than Dynamite. Like Dynamite is the A show, Collision is the B show, but it was more on like Saturday night main event. That's the vibes that you got from Collision. So you know, Punk went to Perry and said, hey, you can't do that, dude. Like if you want to do that, fine, you know, just go to Dynamite and do it. But you hitting glass, you know, real glass might get in your eye, you might hurt yourself, all kinds of stuff. And at that point, according to Punk, Perry said okay. And then you fast forward to All In, and then you get that message, cry me a river. And when he gets back to the back, according to Punk says, hey, what's up with that internet shit? And Perry said, if you don't like it, do something about it. Now, mind you, with Punk saying, listen, I can freaking kill you right now. And he said, look, I choke him out a little bit. Now, that statement alone is just wild as all get out. But let's break down not predicated on money part. So, when AEW first surfaced, it is the alternative show. It was alternative to WWE because for a long time, for I would say, you know, 15 plus years, maybe 20. You know, my math ain't mathing right now, but it's been a long time since there was a legitimate competitor to WWE. TNA was the closest thing to it at that point in time, but you know, once Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan had their hands on it, it was a wrap. Discard and all that. That's neither here or there. But AEW first surfaced, it was the alternative with Kenny, you know, the Bucks, Cody, and they sold out an arena without even telling people what the card was, because people were so hyped behind the fact that this is an alternative show and it's going to knock them dead. And I watched the first Double or Nothing. I mean, it was like the energy in that arena was crazy. And I wish I was there to see it. And then you get AEW, All Elite Wrestling, and you get all these new wrestlers. You get the MJF, you get the younger talent that is there. And then you get live television, you know, network television, where a lot of those young guys don't have experience on TV. So this is like growing pains, if you will. Like, you know, the production and everything else. Like there was mistakes was going to be made in that regard. But with the groundswell that AEW had, other talent was willing to come over. Like if Chris Jericho was able to come over, okay, then you got Bryan Danielson coming over. Then Adam Cole comes over, Malachi Black and Buddy Murphy. Like you got all these people, or Buddy Matthews, you know, coming through. Now the predicated on money part, I understand what CM Punk is saying. Like I can honestly say I can't disagree with what CM Punk is saying, because let me break this thing down to you. When people like Brian Alvarez, and I'm not discrediting Alvarez or anything like that, I'm just saying him for example, when Alvarez and other dirt sheet writers or other writers, I'm sorry, put out, here are the rating numbers for SmackDown. Here are the rating numbers for Raw. Here are the rating numbers for Dynamite. Here are the rating numbers for Rampage. I got news for you. Those ratings don't freaking matter. They no longer matter. They just numbers. That's it. Like, ratings don't matter. This ain't 97, 98. This or in the 90s. Back in the 90s, the ratings didn't matter because that was the only thing you could pull from. But you living in a day and age where you got social media outlets, you got all other streams that like the base, the metrics off of, and the ratings window is an archaic thing at this point. So to see, oh, well, SmackDown pulled 1 million in the ratings. All right, whatever. How did the attendance look? How did the ticket sales look? Now, mind you, disclaimer, they've sold out arenas, I think, 16 times straight, if I'm not mistaken, when it comes to Raw and SmackDown and everything else. So what matters is, okay, how many views it got on YouTube, right? How many views, how much traction did you get on the social media outlets? How many tickets have you sold? What is your arena looking like? If you look at the documentaries in any wrestling documentary, like Tales of the Territories, like I highly encourage you to watch Tales of the Territories. One of the common denominators in Tales from the Territories is the house, the money, the ticket sales, like drawing money. That is the common denominator. That is the number one goal when it comes to wrestling, is the money, your drawing power. Like, what can you do? That's the only thing that, I wouldn't say that's the only thing that matters, but that's one of the most important thing that matters. Because, us as wrestling fans, like, I've never been a wrestler or anything of that nature, but listening to other wrestlers talk, you have a guy or you have a girl, but back in the day, you have a guy that was your big draw, and you thank him for the house because he put food on everybody's table, because everybody came to see him, but you sold out the arenas and the tickets and everything else, and then that's more money for everybody else under you. Thank them for the house. That's that I heard that term so many times, and that's what you do. And so, even though AEW is the alternative, so many people have been taking pictures of the hard camera side and saying, well, look at all these empty seats over here. Look at these empty seats over here. I don't like those people, because those people weren't there to enjoy a wrestling show. They was there to spread more hatred or spread more discourse when it comes to wrestling fandom. So if you are a new wrestling fan, it makes it very difficult and very hard for you to be a wrestling fan, because of jackasses like those that say, hey, I'm gonna just take my camera out and say, look at these empty arena. Look at this. Like, I've been to many WWE shows. I've been to a SmackDown show where the arena wasn't sold out, but you couldn't tell that on TV. On TV, the way the camera angles was, the production of it, you think that the whole house was sold out. You think every seat was filled, but that wasn't really the case. It was just the camera angles that was being up. Because I went back and watched SmackDown, that I've been to, and you could not tell that there was an empty seat in the house, just based off of those camera angles or whatever. Perception is reality when it comes to that. So, but on the flip end, I do understand Tony Khan's catering, or AEW's catering to a niche audience, because the audience that he's catering to is people that don't often get listened to or don't often get cared about. And because maybe he was one of those people, I don't know. But I will say, he's catering to their audience, but you got to branch out, bro. You got to branch out. Now, in 2024, like this year, you have noticed some changes. Like he hired a new CEO. The camera angles look different. The production look a little different. Collision is slowly getting there, and I'm thinking that Adam Copeland is the leader. Between Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, there are the true leaders of Collision now. Like, they're leading the charge on Collision, making you tune into Collision, bringing in younger talent and everything else in between. So money matters. You look at WWE, and the way they produce things. Like, you know, we can complain about the PG era and everything else, right? But you can't argue with the money. You can't argue with the gate. You know, you can't argue with that. Like, money is money. Like, success is success. Their demographic is children, technically. And children are perpetual because those children grow up and they have kids. And guess what they're going to get introduced their kids to? WWE. It's like a revolving door. It keeps on coming. And it's a publicly traded company. And they're all over the world. And how things are being handled professionally. That's just what it is. So when you look at AEW is not short of success either. Like, we're looking at, 5 years of being in the game, 5 years plus. They currently hold the record for attendance at Wembley Stadium, 83,000 people. They sold the place out, sold the place out. So that let you know they have something. Now, I looked at Busted Open, and Bully Ray said, listen, there may be some truth to what Punk is saying, because I had a bad experience with Perry. Like, we did an autograph signing and he wasn't even talking to me. Like, he brushed me off like I was just some Joe Schmo on the street, and paraphrasing. And, you know, he one of those guys. Like, you know, I know Tony Khan is regretting the situation. I'm knowing that he wished he would have handled the situation a little bit differently. I mean, if anything, I would have let Jack Perry go. Like, you're the one who causing this ruckus. Like, you're the one who disrespecting the veterans in the locker room. You know, allegedly. You know, let them go. Let them ride. You know, kick rocks. You know, that's what I would have done. Or, you know, the previous altercation that he had with the Bucks and Kenny, like, made them have a conversation. Like, made them do business together. Because I'm telling you, that will sell out an arena because of the drama, the reality that's in there, and the storytelling. WWE is number one when it comes to storytelling. That's just what it is. They are number one in storytelling. You look at that Bloodline storyline. It's been going on for 2 years, like 2 years plus, and it's just adding layers to it. It's almost like, oh, I got this idea. Let's do this and this and this and this and this. And they had a long running storyline with MJF and the Devil storyline, right? And, you know, unfortunately, Adam Cole got hurt, and, you know, it didn't end the way they wanted to because a freak accident happened, and that's what it is. But if you look at 2024 and what AEW has been doing, they have been making changes. They've been making changes to cater to a bigger audience. They signed, you know, Mercedes Moné. They signed Okada, you know, and they signed Will Ospreay. But another truth to this is, AEW has the best pro wrestling show, period. Listen to what I'm saying. Pro wrestling show, not sports entertainment. They have the best pro wrestling show, period. It's like a 5-star match can get put on every single week if they really, really wanted to. But it's something that Road Dogg Jesse James said like a while back, some months ago. You ain't gonna make money on just pro wrestling. And there's some truth to that. It hurts. It hurts. It really hurts. Like, yeah, you could tell a story in the ring. Yes, you could tell a story in the ring. That, you know, that's what you do. But leading up to the match, like, you can't just put two people together. At some point, those dream matches that we've been watching, eventually they're going to deplete. And eventually we're going to need something deeper. We're going to have to unpeel more layers that sink our teeth into when it comes to storytelling. And that's where we at with it, because I feel like AEW can tell some phenomenal stories. And one of the people that comes to mind when I think of telling stories is Big Swole. And Big Swole was with AEW for a period. And I think when she was telling the story with Britt Baker, I think I saw it somewhere where, you know, especially Diamante, like they was doing out scenarios and just bouncing ideas off each other. Here's what we could do. Here's what we could do to push the storyline further. This what we could, you know what I mean? It's creativity at its finest. And I feel like the bag was fumbled with Big Swole. I feel like that's somebody you can bring into it. And the fantasy booking is going to take you but so far. Like, it was cool at first, like, because we get to see these dream matches like straight out the gate, and I'm definitely one of those fans, right? Definitely one of those fans. But eventually, we're going to need something different. And honestly, when we criticize Tony Khan for not being a boss when handling the CM Punk situation, and yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that situation. I feel like that situation could have been handled way better. And, you had a gem on your hands. This man brought you your first $1 million gate. Like he did that. Like, I mean, ratings don't matter, but he brought the $1 million gate. He did that. There's no denying that. Collision was looking different than Dynamite. Like, you had to watch both shows. You had no choice but to watch both shows because, it was some people that just wanted to be on Collision, and there's some people that just wanted to be on Dynamite. And you had something there. Then, a young talent just being a young talent. And with the suspensions that I've seen, I know Andrade got suspended, Sammy Guevara got suspended more than once. Jack Perez with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I don't even think he's coming back. Or if he is coming back to AEW, it got to be something crazy because people on the internet saying Tony Khan has to respond. But these same people was like, Tony Khan always got something to say. Like, he always got this and that, the third, but now you wanted him to say something. He's doing the mature thing. If I was TK, if I was Jack Perry, I wouldn't say anything at all. I wouldn't respond, or you could twist it in a way to make it an AEW storyline to keep people engaged and to bring more eyes to the product. Because honestly, on TV, you need to fill up those arenas. And to fill up those arenas, and I said this like a few weeks ago, better marketing, like put your champions on ESPN, put them on like any sports analyst shows, not local joints. I'm talking about nationally known joints. Have them talk, do interviews, do all kinds of things. Like at a baseball game, getting interviewed about who you think gonna win on this one. Like go tune into AEW on this, that, and the third. And now you got more people coming in. Like use your talent in that way, because you have Mercedes Moné. They have millions of followers, right? Utilize her to the best of your ability. Put her in the forefront. Put her in the spotlight, because I guarantee you she's gonna bring more people to the dance. All the champions: Adam Copeland, Samoa Joe, Mercedes Moné, Tony Storm. Put them all on like late night talk shows. Like give them that. Give us that, because now you got people that probably never heard of AEW or never watched AEW. Like, whoa, wait. What is this AEW? Let's go tune in. Let's go tune in on TBS at 8 p.m. Let's go tune in on Collision at 8 p.m. on TNT. Like, let's do that. But let's not pretend that AEW is just failing or they're just hemorrhaging money, because people like this on the internet. Like, they continue to fail. Like, you can't call it a failure when you just signed like some of the 3 biggest signings, right? You can't call it a failure where you got a looming Warner Brothers Media deal that is going to be announced at some point in time. And I feel like when that Warner Brothers Media deal gets announced and what that entails, it's going to shed a lot of people's mouths. But Punk has a point. He had a point when he was there. Like, he was drawing money. Crowds was coming in. That's what he was doing. And you got to give him credit. Rare credit is due when it comes to that situation. Like, fantasy booking is only going to get you so far. Like, you got to be in it for the money. Like, you got to draw in the money, draw in the crowds. You got to do what you got to do. And shortly after that, there was some AEW releases. I know the boys from Dalton Castle, Dasha, and just to name a few. And I have the list right here. And it is unfortunate, because I hate to see people lose their jobs. That is not something you want at all in this. And the names are the Tate twins, aka Dalton Castle's boys, Anthony Henry, Stu Grayson, Dasha Fuentes, Gravity, Parker Boudreaux, Jose the Assistant, George Joel, and Slim J. Now, the one that really upsets me the most is Anthony Henry, because shout out to Anthony Henry. I met him here locally for Palmetto Championship Wrestling. Really nice guy, really driven guy. Have like tons of respect for the business, as any wrestler should. And to see him on Ring of Honor and to see him on AEW, see him and JD Drake out here doing their thing, and they were supposed to be in the tag team tournament, and then he gets hurt, and then, which I feel like is very shitty that, he gets released while he's injured. And, it just, that don't really sit well with me. That don't really sit well with me at all. I feel like that's something that needs to be fixed. And from what I understand, there's some more releases coming. And I know some people are like, oh, we'll release Malachi Black. Just go ahead and do that. I'm like, right now, I wouldn't do that. All these big names that I have, I wouldn't release them like that. This is WrestleMania season. Why would I release them right now to only further enhance the competition that I have? Like, it's just not smart. Not smart at all. And on top of that, Malachi Black, it looks like he has a future program with Adam Copeland. And maybe they will go one-on-one at Double or Nothing. So maybe we're going to finally get some Malachi Black goodness. Like, finally we're going to get some singles goodness. Like, maybe he takes the title away from Adam Copeland at Double or Nothing, and maybe he goes on a TNT title run. Like, maybe that's what we do. But any wrestling show like Nitro from back in the day, Monday Night Raw, what is the common denominator? Money. What crowds you pulling? Like, how many tickets you selling? Like, doing like Punk says, doing 5-star matches or just worrying about some goof giving them a 5-star match and you got a quarter full of an arena, a stadium or whatever. Not a good look. Mercedes Moné was heavily advertised. Like, Sting, 18,000 seats. Boom, gone. Gone. Easy. Like, if you look at some of these matches that's on AEW, like Christian and Edge, right? Christian and Edge, like, they put on a master's class on just feeding off the crowd. Master's class. Sting does the same thing. Master class. Like, I feel like if I'm a young talent, I am digesting all of this. I'm watching TV, like watching every single match, studying and doing whatever I got to do, knowing full well, hey, you know what? I don't have to do all these moves just to get over. Like, I ain't got to do all that. I could do it when it means something. So I really do believe in that. And, Punk, like I said, he had a good point. He was right on a lot of things. Now we're going to talk about Adam Hangman Page. Now, Adam Page, with that situation that happened with Adam Page, according to Punk, they went over their promo with each other, like one-on-one. What we're going to say, here's how you're going to respond, just bouncing off each other. And then when you get to the middle of the ring and you hear Hangman Page go off the script on what you rehearsed, and he's attacking you and saying, I'm trying to save the locker room from you and stuff like that. And according to Punk, Hangman was sticking up for a friend, and Punk was like, yeah, that's cool, but don't do it at the detriment of the business of the person that bringing you this gate, a person that bringing in the money or bringing in the attendance. Like, why would you do that? Because overall you disrespecting the wrestling business, according to him. Now, with all this being said, we only hear one side of the story here. Now, one thing that was interesting is that Punk didn't suggest the NDA. It was suggested that the Bucks and Tony Khan issued an NDA. Like, it was on them. It wasn't on Punk. Like, Punk didn't want to do an NDA. Like, he's like, I didn't push for that. So again, it's like we only hear one side of the story. Now, will the Bucks respond? I doubt it, because from what we understand, it's locked in an NDA. Like, Punk couldn't speak on the Brawl Out. He couldn't speak on All Out 2022. Still, he couldn't. But there was no NDA for Jack Perry. Like, he could just air it out for Jack Perry. He can air it out for that. So, and also he was like, I can't speak too heavily on it because I still have friends over there and I don't want them to get in trouble. I don't want them to get blackballed or held back or whatever the case may be. So, but also with AEW being this groundswell that it is, you do have younger talent that's there. You do have talent that's probably never been on TV before. And there are growing pains. And when you do have veterans in there like Mark Henry, Big Show, Samoa Joe, Bryan Danielson, Christian, Adam Copeland, and now Mercedes Moné, being a veteran that she is, Mercedes Martinez, people like that. It will behoove you to listen to that older set talent, because they done been there and done that. Because 5-star matches, although it's fun for us because we love some graps. We love some graps now. Listen, we love some grappling. But overall, even though that tickles my palate, that tickles that, I'm part of that niche audience. To be further successful, you need to draw in other people outside of that niche. Because the 5-star matches is cool. 5-star matches is cool, but get me there. Tell me the story. What's the story that got us to this point? What? And I think they're slowly. I think they're getting that way, because stories is being told with Samoa Joe. Stories being told with Hangman, Swerve, and Joe. It kind of makes you think, like, is Swerve going to beat Joe for the for the AEW World Championship? My guess is no. I wouldn't want that to happen that short period of time, because Joe is a bruiser. I mean, he is what it is. I think Swerve should win it at Wembley. I think he should win it at Wembley. But we will see. Maybe there are long-term plans for Wembley Stadium. So also he was asked about Khan's comments about being afraid for his life. He stated, "I can't tell you what Tony felt or what he was thinking, but I never did anything to make him feel fear for his life. But he's who he is, There was a concerted effort to, I guess, slander me and try to ruin my character, and that's kind of the genesis of all the drama. Like, don't do that." So he said, "Why are you spreading lies and rumors and bullshit about your top guy?" Now, I don't think that's Tony Khan, because anytime Tony Khan is asked about CM Punk and the altercation or what happened at the media scrum, he said, "Listen, that's an excellent question. I'm not at liberty to answer that." So the slander to Punk, we haven't heard that from TK. Like, we haven't heard that. Like, I don't understand the public slander, because honestly and truly, these same fans that is behind Punk are some of the same fans that saying he can't draw a dime because they can't stand the fact that he was with another company outside of WWE. Turncoat fans. Like, there was some of these people that were like that. And it's on the opposite end of the spectrum too. Because when it's on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have people that was like totally 100% behind Punk. And once he starts speaking ill of AEW, it's like, I don't like you. You never drew anything anyway. That's why you get injured all the time, and yada, 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 yada. Like, that's a terrible way to be. Terrible way to be. That's a miserable way to be. Punk seems like he's happy. And I don't care if you are a top star and you want out and you want to leave, go. But I'm going to do it within reason, obviously, but I'm going to make sure I'm able to do anything to salvage what's going on, because it's highly speculated that, Buddy Matthews, Malachi Black, Ricky Starks are your big three that's leaving. Once that contract ends, they out of there. They're done. They're gone. Unless something changes. Miro being the other person. And I'm like, well, why Miro hasn't been used? I mean, Miro got some personal issues going on, as you already know. I mean, maybe that's the reason. But what I do know is that this is the first time that I've seen AEW have budget, well, I won't say budget cuts, but have like releases to this matter, because typically one of the things that's been highlighted the most by AEW is that they'll let your contract run out, and once your contract runs out, they just don't re-sign you. So they set the expectation, hey, we're not going to re-sign you, allegedly, and you go on about your merry way. It's not like an abrupt release. It's not like that. So this is different. And honestly, it kind of makes sense, because you see this coming, because you got Will Ospreay, Okada, and Mercedes Moné. All three big contracts. Don't know the numbers of those. Don't want to know the numbers of those. But it can be speculated that these are big numbers. And with these are big numbers, you might have to cut the fat down at the bottom. Unfortunately. Again, the one thing I'm really upset about is Anthony Henry. I feel like they should renegotiate his contract or something. Like bring him back. And I'm pretty sure TK is looking at all this, and just people that you don't utilize at all, man. Like, let contracts run out. But I fully understand the business side of it, because at the end of the day, wrestling is a business. Yes, it's entertainment. It's for us, the fans. Like, we're here to to enjoy all these things. But on a wrestling standpoint, it is a business. If you don't like somebody, still got to work with them. That's the business. Look, if Brett can work with Sean, because Brett went on record to say, I don't too much care for Sean at that point in time, but I still wrestle Sean. You couldn't tell that you couldn't tell. It made sure you came home, you went home safe, sound, and not injured, or whatever the case may be. But from a younger talent standpoint, if you are one of those younger talents that don't want to listen to veterans, I don't think you're going to make it as far. And I do understand that, you want to go by the beat of your own drum, and you want to pave your own way. You want to do your own thing. And man, nobody understands that more than me. Can't tell me anything. I'm going to go do my own thing. I'm going to do this. But I think when it comes to pro wrestling, though, like, it's some things that I feel like should be digested. And maybe, when it comes down to Jack Perry, if all this stuff is true, I can't see Bully Ray lying about that. If this stuff is true, I hope Jack Perry matured, because if he comes back and he starts this static again with like Adam Copeland, listen, Adam ain't gonna stand for that. Like, Adam probably gonna whoop his ass. Christian probably gonna join in and whoop his ass. Like, it is what it is. It's like, you on thin ice, brother. Like, you come over back to AEW, you on really thin ice. Really thin ice. And it's like, you got one more time to mess up. After that, you're done. You're gone. It's off the races. I mean, would WWE bring Jack Perry in? Absolutely. They would definitely bring Jack Perry in. And what's probably going to happen, they're going to probably make him and Punk do some business together, because there's a story behind that. There's something that's been going on the past few years, and they're going to teach you to be a professional for the check that's going to write for you. So that is what it is. Is AEW failing? No, not by any stretch of the imagination. What was Punk saying about the money aspect of it? Yes, I agree with him 100%. Like, 2023 wasn't the best time for AEW, honestly. But I feel like every wrestling company goes through this. Like, again, there were some times that Raw and SmackDown wasn't sold out. There was some times that a quarter of the arena was filled up. There was times of that. Like, every wrestling company goes through that to a certain point in time, because, hey, summer. It's summertime. People go out. People hanging out. We ain't got time to watch wrestling. Everybody on vacation. Like, that's some of the slowest times of pro wrestling. But what AEW needs to do is focus on drawing in the bigger crowds. Like, you got 14,000, 15,000 seat arenas. Like, you got to fill those 15,000 seats. Like, I feel like it's easy to do. Just tell the stories. I mean, hey, you got a booker that's hanging out right now by the name of Scott D'Amore. Scott D'Amore could turn. I mean, the locker room's already turned around. I mean, I think the locker room is fine with AEW locker room. Nothing bad. Everything is close to the chest. I mean, once Punk start talking, people on the internet was like, oh, well, AEW locker room is shit. Like, they can't get along with each other. They can't do this and this and this. And like, they pulling imaginary information out of their ass based off what this man is saying. And some people like, well, there's not but drama coming out of AEW. I'm like, and I'm seeing it on TikTok. I'm like, what's the last thing you heard that was dramatic outside of what Punk was dealing with? You just wanted to ride the tailcoats, Well, I say tailcoats. You want to ride the coattails. I'm sorry, ride the coattails. Of based off of what Punk was saying. Like, do you even watch AEW, bro? Do you even watch it at all to even say something so baseless? You can't, because 2024 has been highlighted. March has been very good for AEW, very good. And you got Dynasty coming in a couple weeks. You got all this stuff happening. Yeah. It's just that, things need to shift a little bit. Things need to change a little bit, and they are changing. Like the camera angles been changing, the new music out there, the new rebranding of AEW. Like we have seen it, and this Warner Media Discovery deal, I feel like it's gonna be one of the biggest deals, in pro wrestling. I mean, for AEW standard, because more pay-per-views is out there. So now that you got more pay-per-views, now you're forced to tell stories. Now you got to get there. You got to lead up to a pay-per-view now, and then that heavy rotation gonna get you there. But you got Scott D'Amore hanging out there, man. If anything, I'm reaching out to Scott D'Amore. I said, hey, how about work with them women? Work with them women and work with the men, booking stories, because I mean, honestly and truly, like, who really hates Scott D'Amore? Not many people hate Scott D'Amore. I don't know anybody that hates Scott D'Amore. I haven't heard anything negative about Scott D'Amore. I'm like, if anything, I feel like Tony Khan should be knocking down this man's door. Knocking down this man's door when it comes to booking. Everybody likes him. He's hanging right there. Scott D'Amore. How you there, man? If he's willing to go. Man, Mario Ronaldo, let him commentate, please. Please let that man commentate. Like, I mean, man, put him on Collision, yo. Put him on Collision, because he was the voice of NXT, man. Like, the way he was so excited about certain move sets and everything else, and he was ad-libbing certain hip-hop references. That's like crazy good. That's your two chief elements right there. But changes have been made to AEW. COO has been hired, someone that has vast experience, with production and stuff like that. The camera angles have been changed. The music has changed. The atmosphere has changed. So I think things are looking up, and things don't change overnight. Just keep in mind, ratings don't matter. It no longer matters. It hasn't mattered for a very, very long time, for years. Ever since the introduction of social media and, pay-per-view buy rates and stuff like that, ratings is not as important as it was back in the 90s. So we can't use that as a crutch. For the wrestling fans that's on social media, for the IWC, please, I implore you, please stop using ratings as your measuring stick, because ratings don't fucking matter at all. Not anymore. It's not as important as it was back in the 90s. It's views on YouTube. It's social media influence. It's your ticket sales. It's your attendance. Ratings, demographics, nothing. Trash. Whatever. Throw it in the trash. Don't use that as your argument. Don't use that as your measuring stick when you have these tribalistic arguments. Or better yet, don't have the tribalistic arguments in the first place. Just enjoy both shows, because this weekend coming is night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania. And I highly encourage you guys to watch WrestleMania, because WrestleMania is always a fun time. Always a good time to watch WrestleMania. And after that, man, listen, you got AEW Dynasty. I highly encourage you to watch both wrestling shows and see if you actually like it. If it's been a hot minute since you've seen WWE, now's a good time to watch it. If it's been a long time since you've seen AEW, now's a good time to watch it. Now, as far as CM Punk is concerned, he looks happy. I wish him nothing but the best. I wish him a speedy recovery, because he's been dealing with a series of unfortunate events when it comes to injuries. And every time it gets to that point where he's about to tell a good story, boom, injury happens. And that's just a stroke of bad luck. And it seems to me that storylines is being written for Drew McIntyre himself, and maybe at Clash of the Castle. Maybe that's something that we're going to see in the future. But for the AEW elitists out there that was in a tizzy, that that had your panties in a bunch about what CM Punk said, what he said was actually true. Okay, and look, I am a huge AEW fan. Like, AEW is a show that I watch from start to finish every single week. I'm gonna tell you that. But I'm realistic enough to know there's some things that can be changed. There's some things that can get better. Just take what he said and think about it for a second. Take 2 steps back for a minute and maybe Maybe he's right on that. Maybe there's some other things that need to be changed. Like maybe we can bring more people into the product and watching it and actually sell out these arenas, because we want nothing more than for AEW to be successful, and they have vast potential. Their roster is the best. Listen, they have the best roster. To me, in the US, the best roster. Utilize that roster. Tell the most phenomenal stories you can tell. And you got people that are free agents in from the back office that can tell great stories. Epic. Cinema. But yeah, that is our show for today, man. Pro Wrestling Talk, man. Go ahead and watch WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2. And watch AEW Dynasty. Watch both shows. All right? Enjoy pro wrestling. On Thursday at 7 p.m. myself and Boogie Blends will be talking Nerd Talk. All the things for video game news, anime news, comic book news. We're going to dive deep into all that stuff, y'all. So, until next time, y'all. Peace.